Craig was here and then Craig disappeared.
I'm right here.
Oh my God, look at that shirt. That'll make you up.
I know, it's like a TV test pattern, isn't it? Hello, Brent. Hello, Kelly.
Well, honey, I'm glad you got up at 5. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I got to ask you, Brenda, about your laugh. It is just one of the most infectious laughs anyone could ever hear anywhere.
I guess I like to share. Maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. Except I love to laugh.
Brenda, I saw an interview with you where you were reflecting on your 7-year romance with Michael Douglas back in the 70s. And you said one of the most outrageous things that he ever taught you was how to roll a big, long, fat joint.
Yes. How to manipulate the paper. Well, he was 5 years younger than me, and he'd been in a commune in Santa Barbara. And he was a hippy-dippy. When I met him, I called him hippy-dippy. And long hair right here. And he was just as charming and awkward and adorable as one could be at that age. He was fabulous. But all he did was roll joints, and with great grass. And I hope Michael doesn't think I'm going overboard here without his permission.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he put 2 pieces of paper together. Then he would take the grass and crumble it, because it was really good. And it didn't have anything else in it, like it does today, God forbid. And then he would show me how to roll it. And he was so good at it. And the ends were pinched and pointed. It was like exquisite. I said, why don't you go into business? And he said, I am in business. So that's my story about Michael.
Now, Michael saw you, I think, in Midnight Cowboy and kind of fell madly in love with you. And as I understand the story, he asked his dad, Kirk, to introduce you. And then
he offered you a role in his Summer Tree movie.
Yes, he did. I did have a lunch with him. Of course, he had done lunches with all the beautiful women of that time there. Leslie and Warren, I think, was the last one. And then I came. We had a lovely lunch and we laughed a lot. And the next thing I heard is that I've been chosen. And I was thrilled, because he was producing it. His dad was producing it, Bryant Productions. And it was Kirk's son. And this was the first producer. He got Anthony Newley to direct it. That was a little wacko. Anthony Newley fell asleep a lot in his car. I think he was still in Oliver and wasn't exactly easily provoked into directing. But anyway, it was a great experience and we had a great time and we fell in love. So what could be better?
You and Michael appeared together in several episodes of The Streets of San Francisco with the great Karl Malden. What was he like to work with?
I adored him. He was just so gentle and smart and supportive, all those things that sometimes when you go to work with stars, they're not that way. They're distant.
Yes.
They've been told to be aloof for whatever reasons. I imagine they're based on good reasons, because people can take advantage. But he was so gentle and kind and such a good actor. He was wonderful to work with, lovely, easy, and he had a great laugh. I remember his laugh and his twinkling eyes, because if you did something that surprised him, his eyes were, expressive. And his wife was just as charming as she could be. He was so tall, and she was so little. She was so petite. They were kind of a charming, funny couple. But I loved both of them. I really did. And he befriended me. So I was a lucky girl.
Is this true? You and Michael nearly married in a backyard ceremony at your agent's place?
Youth is wasted on the young, my father used to say. That's the famous saying. And I think I was young, very young. And we don't evaluate sometimes when we're that young. Well, we're not thinking of the future. You're into the now, And if you're into the now too deeply, you won't be able to elaborate or evaluate things properly. I didn't. And I took that moment away from me and him and the family, and it was really momentarily correct. And maybe lifetime correct. Because, I mean, he married a delightful lady and he has 2 kids. And we were a very ambitious couple. And there was no time for babies. And family, my mother used to say, Brenda, remember one thing. Family is everything. And she used to put her hands together. And now I realize how right she was. But then it was just like, oh, yeah, okay, Mom. Yeah. Oh, another one of my mother's psalms. But I think he's done well. He's got himself a family, which is terribly important. And I continued on my youthful dance. And that sometimes that journey, whatever it is along the way, puts you in a place when you're my age that you say, I guess I'm meant to be here this way. Yes. So it's not like I don't have family, I don't have a husband, I had a journey. And that journey was what it was meant to be.
Yep.
And as long as you have a good spirit about it, which I do, you're going to end up happy. And you got to end up like understanding that this was meant to be and that it's positive. And positive because somebody up there or something has faith in you that you'll make it good.
Well, let's go back to the beginning and have a look at that journey because it's fascinating. You were born in New York, in Brooklyn, but brought up in Texas.
Yeah.
I hear these stories, Brenda, that you were quite a trick at school, often in strife. Is that right?
Are you talking about the nun school?
Yes.
They called my dad and said, and this was in Dallas, and it was Sacred Heart. And there I was in this Catholic school, which was all wrong for me. But anyway, I stepped on her, what do you call it?
It's a habit.
A habit. And it came half off, and that was it. I guess they were tired of every laugh I was giving to everybody. He called my father and said, we think you can find a school more suited for her needs. It's hard to get a laugh out of a nun, you know what I mean? So I was not sad to leave. My father was sad because he said, where do I put you?
I also heard this story when you were a little girl. Into your dad's restaurant came the great Jimmy Durante, and you two wind up doing a duet. Is that true?
Very true. The Dallas State Fair was down the road. And every year they had really important guests come. Nat King Cole. My father got into a lot of trouble about that. He was a liberal. And Jimmy Durante came, and I happened to be in the restaurant that night. I don't know. I was very young. And how I knew this, I don't even know. I just don't remember. I remember getting up on the table, and he held my hand, and I sang with him. How could you believe me when I said I loved you when you knew I was a liar all the time?
Oh, how fab.
Okay, so as a teenager, I think 17, you went to Broadway. You wound up appearing in a whole bunch of shows, including Cactus Flower with Lauren Bacall, and that's where you met Barbra Streisand because she was working in a theatre opposite you.
She was doing I Can Get It For You wholesale. Remember Miss Marmalstein? Right. And I was across the street, and Everybody Loves Opal with Eileen Heckert and Stubby K, who was absolutely adorable. And we would meet Wednesdays after our matinees, and in those days, there were the steps. You could go down into a basement restaurant, and across the street was a Chinese restaurant. We would meet, and I think she was 18 and I was 20, or I knew I was older. We would have, and Elliot Gould was always late, and he would come and he would join us, and we were babies. I remember when I walked in the opening night into Sardi's, where everybody used to go, and my Aunt Marge made my dress, and Lauren Bacall was there, and we were all waiting for the New York Times to see if we were a hit or not. Right, those were the days.
Yeah,
those were great. Yeah, and they were like this. They were like this. Everybody was joyous and waiting with hope. You know, like you could see the hope on everybody's face. Do you have the Times? open it up. Everybody was like, it was Christmas, you know?
You and Barbra started out together. You're in a play with Lauren Bacall. Decades later, Barbra cast you in The Mirror Has Two Faces with Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never even saw her in the Barbra Streisand movie. I mean, did we cross and make up once? Maybe. I think we were crazy about each other. You know, she was not an easy lady on probably very good reason. She was in a vulnerable situation, which was the theater. For her, she was a movie star. So you're used to working with the camera. This was an audience. It was quite different. If you did a line and they didn't laugh, you felt it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It was not good. But if you said a line that you made up at the moment and it just came to you and they got a huge laugh, then like you made it that night. It was a different experience. I loved the theater. I don't know. It was like the best food I ever enjoyed. You know, it was like wonderful.
Midnight Cowboy, was that your first or second movie, Brenda?
Maybe my second.
You and Jon Voight lit up the screen like no couple at that point in time. And that bedroom scene where you were supposed to be nude, and I know you kept thinking of your mother, Christine, didn't you?
I wasn't going to let that happen. I'm telling you. Anne Roth and I were blessed by God. She did the costumes, famous Anne Roth. And it was the beginning of her career, too, and John Schlesinger. He is determined for me to do this in bed nude. She said, don't worry, we'll make it work. We'll do something. So Annie was out in Pennsylvania somewhere where she lived. And she saw this guy with his trunk open. Now, nobody knows this story, I don't think. And she sees this guy, and he's got all these furs in his trunk. And she walked over to him, and she said, I wonder, could I ask you a question? And he said, yeah, what? She said, I wonder if you'd sell one of those to me. I don't know why. She does this too really well. Well, I have an actress who is in need of a cover. Oh, yeah? Yeah. And she said, Red Box Code. How much you want for that? I'll take $250. She gave it to him. And she just saved my ass. Let me tell you that you saw that code. It was great. And when I walked in and saw John Schlesinger saw me in this fox coat with nothing on underneath, he went, oh my God, I'm doing fine. In fox. I absolutely love it. And we all started laughing. It was like, oh my God. So that's how it all happened. And Roth saved my ass, so to speak.
Did you feel as you were doing that bedroom scene, did you feel the vulnerability of him? Did you see just how incredibly seductive you were and that incredible chemistry?
I think that smile that I had at one take, you know, where I'm just looking at him, I'm smiling at him. I think, yeah, I think she did. But he gave the most vulnerable performance of someone who didn't know what was going to happen to him in a big city. The end of him holding Dustin in that bus is just, it's breathtaking. And, you know, John didn't know where he was going with this film. Do you know that? We went outside for a walk and he passed the trailers and he heard somebody crying. And he went over and it was John saying, I don't know, I came to this fucking country to do this movie and I ended up doing a movie about it. A boy that fucks all these different women. I don't know what I'm doing. And it was a vulnerable moment that John took him to his apartment, I guess that was nearby.
Yeah.
And they hadn't drank. But isn't that great? That vulnerability was there for John. Or John Schlesinger was English, and he thought, what kind of a movie am I doing? What am I doing here? You know, Waldo Salt was this incredible writer who'd gone through that horrible McCarthy period and had everything taken away from him. This was his one chance of a comeback, or the beginning chance. And so there were a lot of memorable things going on, and look, what a masterpiece it's been acknowledged to be.
And I think it's reflected in that Life magazine cover that was you in 1970. How proud was your mum?
In those days, that in the train station, they had a huge screen up and they would put the cover outside magazine, and there she flew to New York to see that.
You got to work with the great Robert Mitchum in a wonderful movie called Going Home.
I really fell in love with him. I just thought he was something really special. One time, I came to a house that he was in, and it was out of town. I think the people that owned the famous piano, I can't think of it now. Wasn't Yamaha, was another. What? Steinway, thank you. Steinway. And I told him, I said, listen, I just talked to Maureen Stapleton. She's not far from here. And she was a great actress, as people know. I said, let's get in the car. And because he had limos all the time, and let's drive out there and see her. She's waiting. She'd love to meet you. And I know that you like this kind of actress. He said, no more. Let's go. So he drove to Maureen Stapleton's house. Needless to I say, that I woke up at 7 a.m. and they were still singing on the porch. I just went, oh my God, because they went like this. Yeah. They just loved each other. So I was very proud in introducing them, and I was totally in love with him. I thought he was magnificent. He was so well read. He was such an elegant, smart guy, that nobody really knew it. And some guy came along, he rented a boat for the cast, and he stopped and he said, and Bob had on sunglasses, and he said, I think you think you're a big guy, huh? He said, starting to fight. And Mitchum just took his glasses off and went, come on. And then the guy went, and he just walked away. He had a way of just putting people in their place so fast.
Once is not enough, of course, with Kirk Douglas, for which you won a Golden Globe Award. You were Oscar nominated.
All I could think of was me on the stairway. And that famous writer, Julius Epstein, I'm not sure that he liked me at all. He wanted respect and he wanted me to go his way. I said, no, I disagree. And Howard Koch agreed with me, but Julius Epstein was a very strong gent. And I rolled a joint, not a real one, but I rolled a joint. And I sat on the stairway, which was dark, in a man's shirt. And here was this character where I played, which I thought, fine. Where's another side of her? I mean, what is she doing? She's alone. Who is she? Why is she the way she is? She's lonely. She's aggressive. All these different things. So I was going to show that she would get stoned by herself on the stairway in back of the building in which she lived. He absolutely said, don't you dare. And I said, it means something about the character. Let me do it. You won't be sorry. And Harold came in and saved me. I mean, I think Julius Epstein said, let her do what you want. He hated me, I don't know. He thought I was making his movie dirty, or doing something so out of line that he couldn't accept it. What does he mean, smoking grass? But it would have been something that she would have done. It was in that time that it was acceptable that not only was she impossible, but she was a doper, So Harold came in and saved me. He said, do it. I said, okay.
And
Thank
you did
you.
it.
And I did it.
Another favourite movie considered by many of your fans, of course, is Capricorn One. It starred Elliot Gould, had been married to Barbra Streisand, and of course James Brolin is Barbra Streisand's husband now. And I think OJ's
my boyfriend then, and Clint Eastwood was his best friend. And they're both the same kind of low-key, talk like the cowboys. They seem like cowboys. I know they're not, but that's how they talk. And what do you mean? What are you saying? So it was great. I love that movie.
You got to work with Faye Dunaway not once, but twice. There was Supergirl, and then there was The First Deadly Sin with Frank Sinatra. There was that documentary on Faye Dunaway that came out recently called Faye, where she was incredibly candid, and she talked openly about being very difficult to work with. Did you find her difficult to work with on both of those occasions?
No, but yes. As an actress and doing a scene, she was excellent. Everything before it and after it was a bit of a nightmare. I mean, if this thing was too long, the sleeve, because it had chiffon, it would become such an issue. But she didn't have a way with the crew. And let me say this about films. What I learned the most is the crew makes the movie, not you. And you're just a tiny part of what the crew does. If they don't like you, you're in big trouble. It was the same with Lauren Bacall and Cactus Flower. They didn't like her. That was a play. But, you know, you have to, I don't know, you have to have respect for the fact that every single one of them carries responsibility every time that you do not. You know, and they really put the movie together. I salute them. I go and meet the sound man. I meet everybody and say, I'm glad to work with you. Glad I'm here. I want them to know I respect them and I need their help. But I had fun with her. And when I did, she would kind of like just shake her head and start to laugh. In England, they have these things that are wood and you can stand on them because you have a period dress on. So you don't have to go to lunch. You can step on this thing and it's wood and you can just sit there and go to sleep or meditate. And so you don't have to take your costume off.
Yeah.
And as I left for lunch was on one of those things that you left the theater, you left the set. And as I passed by, you know, I don't know what I said to her, but it just drove her crazy. I said, calm down, Faye, just a move. And she started to laugh. She didn't want to laugh, but she did. You know, and so she was like intense in her own world. And I walked into her trailer once and it was like 90 degrees in there. And I went, come on, get it, you know. But for her, it was her way to work. It was just her way. What can I say?
Brenda, the Golden Girls, and of course you played Angela in an episode that was just hilarious. What was it like?
Every single one of those ladies backstage at different times would say, you know, she thinks she's the star of this show, but I got to tell you, they were all had something to tell me that was private, and they wanted me to keep it a secret, and yet here's what they felt. I think it was heaven. Do you know what I mean? It was just feeling like I was everybody's daughter or everybody's sister, and I got the real scoop, but I had to keep my mouth closed. You know what I mean? And they were adorable. And of course, I've never met anybody as funny as she was. She was brilliant. I don't know, her kind of comedy just would knock your socks off out. I don't even know how she was so brilliant. She called me once after the show was over and hello, Brenda, it's me. I said, oh, I'm so glad to hear from you. Yes, well, I saw you last night and I thought don't call me back. I thought you were absolutely wonderful. Don't call me back. And she kept doing this throughout the conversation. But don't call me. You know, it would be different each time. And I was hysterical. And it was the longest message I'd ever gotten from anybody.
Now, let me take you back to the early 80s. And of course, you become the Playtex Tampon Queen. And boy, did that super sultry voice of yours sell some tampons.
I had a terrible time with those people. They didn't think anything I did was funny. I was trying to make it funny. So here are these guys, they all look like Marines with the haircut that Marines have. But I didn't like the guys and they didn't like me because I was too outrageous for them.
You got to work with one of my favorite people in the world, and I'm blessed to know her, the divine Sally Struthers.
She's one of my best friends. I mean, she was just here. In my apartment, I have a chaise lounge in the living room. She stayed 4 days.
So take me back to working on stage with her. You two must have laughed yourselves hoarse.
opening night after I took over for Rita Moreno. Was it Rita Moreno? I think so. They didn't get along that well. Forgive me, Sally, for opening up the truth there. So when I came in, she was very supportive. I was downstairs in the costume room and she fell on the floor and said, I'm thanking God for this. But on stage, opening night for me, I was shaking. I was so nervous. I was like, there were all those wonderful comedians on stage with me. Oh, my God. And as I walked past her, she said, I'm so proud of you. I could die. So, I mean, she's just one in a million.
She's absolutely special. You know, a beautiful story, Brenda. You and Frank Sinatra became great friends and you'd made that movie together, The First Deadly Sin. But Frank brought you to tears. The story I heard was that he was talking to your mum, Christine, in Italian.
I was in the trailer and I heard two people talking Italian. And I thought, and I looked, and all of a sudden I saw my mother standing there with him and I went, what? I never heard my mother talk Italian. Never. And him, I thought, I didn't know he talked Italian. So I dare not say a word. And he kissed her on both cheeks as he left. And she came into the trailer and she said, oh, I just had a wonderful conversation with him. And I said, oh, that's nice. I'm so glad. I didn't want to take it away from her, that it was private, that it was magic, that it just happened. You know, I just kept my mouth shut. I said, oh, I'm so glad. Oh, good, great. He was adorable.
Yep, one of the best. Do you know what? You and Al Pacino, You Don't Know Jack, that scene where you were both sitting in the diner and you were going toe-to-toe, that is an absolute masterclass.
Do you know the story there? That's amazing. I'm glad you asked that. The scene, I found out the truth about the two of them and this thing about her daughter and the problem that existed because of her daughter. And he actually went to jail because of it. Anyway, I tried to get them to write a scene that was more like what happened. I couldn't get any response. So I told Al about it. He read about it. And he said, okay, we're going to do it. I went, good. I think it's valuable. Because it was the only time you saw this conflict between brother and sister. I get a call. We're in a hotel in Michigan. And it's like 11:15. And he said, I'm down in the bar. You want to rehearse this thing? And I went, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'll come down. He said, yeah, meet me here. I thought, okay, we're not going to do the scene that's there, which was empty. And it was like the writer didn't agree with us, so there was no issue there. So I go downstairs and we start to work and give each other ideas. And all of a sudden, the entire bar is like, so I mentioned to him, he said, oh, shit. So he said, okay. I said, listen, I got to go to bed. I got to get up. I got to be on the set at 8, ready to shoot this thing. He said, okay. I went to sleep. I got up. I was on the set. And we were getting ready to shoot. I knew my lines. And he leans into me. He's on the left, ready to go to that table, booth. And I'm on this side. And he goes, we're off the script, okay? And I went, what? You really? He said, yeah, we're just off the script. We're not going to do that. I went, fine by me. He meant improv. So I go and I sit down and look what happened. That was all improvisational. We had never had a chance to rehearse it. We had never, and it was like in a state of perfection. The minute we finished the last line and I got up to leave and I heard Brent. So, I mean, it was magic. It was absolute magic.
And of course, you two reunited on screen in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I loved Quentin. Quentin said to me, Brenda, I had to cut you out, but I left you in with the back of your hair and your name in the part because I wanted you to get residuals. But he said the movie was too long. And he said, and so that scene became superfluous in the journey I had to go to make, it was just between you and him, and it was great.
Tell me about working with Naomi Watts and Billy Crudup in that wonderful TV series, Gypsy.
I think it was a confused film. I don't know how to explain it. It just never really, I don't think it was class right. I think it was a young writer, God bless her. She was like such a sweetheart. And she really wrote a very interesting script with an interesting problem. I mean, there was no way that you could, as you read it, you could put it down and say, no. It was interesting. It just was, to put it in acting terms, to keep the tension between doctor and patient. You know what I mean? It was difficult. It was difficult. And it was a difficult thing to write. I mean, Jesus, psychiatry,
Naomi Watts and Billy Crudup, that's kind of where they first started dating. Now they're very happily married and such a wonderful power couple.
That's the best way to meet your next love, is to do a movie with him.
Yeah.
That's a great way to fall in love.
You might fall in love again, Brenda. Do you think that?
I don't know. I'd love to. I would love to. I just can't meet anybody. I've never seen too many gay men in my life. This town. I'm serious. New York City is loaded with them. And I'm happy about it. I have nothing but friends, but they're all gay. So, and I keep thinking, is there anybody in this wrong to leave this straight? I mean, but I am very, very interested in having a relationship again,
You were absolutely brilliant on Friends as Joey's mum. Did you have fun?
Oh, I loved it. It was the 6th show. It was brand new. Everybody was shy. Everybody was like just, climbing, not knowing where they were going, kind of when you see actors who go, we think this is right. Is it funny? Everybody was charming. They were all adorable. They were all original. They were all just, born to be gracious and talented and to give. And so whoever put that cast together, luck, be a lady tonight. It was just a great bunch of kids. And I loved every one of them. Matthew Perry, I just adored him. When we would rehearse, I would watch them. And because I didn't have that much to do, that's the reason I did it. Christmas was coming. My agent said, look at it as Christmas money. All right? So it was around that time. And I remember watching him from the audience thinking, whoa, that's the best one. That one, he's going to be a big star. Matthew Perry was breathtaking. Just breathtaking. Young and vulnerable and funny and genuine. He took my breath away, and handsome, everything about him. I worked with his father. His father was in acting.
Yes.
I did a series, and his father was in it. He had a big part. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, I can't remember anything anymore. It's getting, do you know what I mean? When you get this age and you've done so much, I can look at a list of things to go, what is that? What? A mirror ghost? I don't remember that. I don't remember things. I've done so much. And it was because of Lou Wasserman. Because when he signed me to Universal, this movie, now it's this show, then it's, I never had a minute to do anything. He worked me like a horse.
Well,
But here's the deal. I've made a film called Nonnas.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you've got Nonnas coming up on Netflix.
And it's coming out on Netflix. I'm so happy they picked it up. I thought, well, is it that bad? Why isn't anybody doing anything? And then the Canada people said, we'll take it. And I thought, but, and then I hear Netflix. I've never had so much fun in my life as that movie.
Well, what a cast, eh? Tell me about it. Susan Sarandon, Vince Vaughn,
And Lorraine Bracco, who I adore.
Oh, wow.
Lorraine is heaven. And I think Vince Vaughn is so great in it.
What I love about you is over 60 years in the biz, and you still have such excitement for your next project. You have such a glee for all of the wonderful people you've worked with over the way. And I got to say, you have so many amazing stories. I just think somewhere along the way there has to be that book. I know you don't want to.
Do you think so, really?
Oh my gosh, I don't think so. I know so.
Why do you like that, honey? I want to thank you for this because lately I don't have an agent. I don't have a press agent. I don't have a lawyer. Well, I do have a lawyer, really, but I mean, all of a sudden I'm without representation and I'm going, this can't go on, but I don't know which way to turn. And so I'm just sort of like floating along, which is okay because I know something's coming. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is, but I know it's got to be better than what I have. And that I have to be more specific about what I want and what I can grow with. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So you came and asked me to do this. It just it enlightened me, and it gifted me to say, "Oh my God, I'm still here." You know, because I've been going out with friends and going to the theater, and I've been having dinners like you can't believe. And I've got a great Irish roommate. She's adorable. You know, she works for the Prince Albert, and she's also a composer. So life is rich, you know, and much better than it was in L.A. You know what Hemingway said? You'll love this, especially. I know you. Hemingway said, people are places. And it's so true. It's a tiny little short thing. But my God, the people are here. They ain't in L.A. And then somebody sent me this thing that was just heaven great. And it's written, and it says, in L.A. that we say, I'll give you a call. In New York, we say, fuck you. So you got to do the wink. You got to do the wink. I'll give you a call. You never hear from them. What do you think? They're going to really call you? They're bullshit. You know? So I like the New Yorkers don't mess around, man. Fuck you. That's the end of it.
Brenda Vaccaro, you are a national living treasure.
Oh,
And
God, you are too, sweetheart.
I can only wish you so well.
I've had a great time. I hope I haven't talked too much. Jesus Christ. It's like letting somebody out of a closet and they go, ging, 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 ging.
No, you're adorable. We've had a ball. Thank you so much for your generosity with your time and for just being you.
I thank you, Kelly. Thank you for your patience. And sweetheart, for the experience, I love you. I had such a good time.
Oh, well, I love you more. Big hugs from us.
How do you turn this off? I love.
Bye.
This thing off. I'm just going to lower it.